So, just trying to get everything correct with Llewellyn. So he gave you the call.
Yes.
When you said you were going to have a meeting about what took place, and John had approached him at the Element.
Yes, and all I said in that email was there was an incident at the office. We will be discussing it at next week's board meeting. I did not say anything in that email about a photo, anything. I just said there was an incident at the office.
Right. And so Llewellyn didn't say anything. The only thing he said, you heard you guys had an incident and files were taken.
He said, yeah, Costello was, after I had sent that email saying, you know, we're going to be discussing an incident that happened at the office, then he called in and said, yeah, Costello was telling me that somebody broke in and took some files, and I said, well, no, that's not what happened.
I think that's interesting.
And then it was almost about a week later when you realized it.
A few days later, after Ron had called, I think I called you the day Ron called me.
Yes.
And told you what he had said.
Right.
Because I just thought that was way too coincidental that Costello would have even known. But then I also thought Ron could have said, oh yeah, we had some kind of incident out at the EDA and we're going to be discussing it on Friday.
But did Ron know at that point though?
He knew nothing except that it was an incident that we were going to be discussing at our board meeting, an incident. And like I said, he is a gossip, and I don't know how well you guys know him, but sometimes you take what Ron tells you with a grain of salt. It was just too coincidental that what he said ended up being accurate.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that Ron would have had no idea that happened on the 18th when we were called there.
No.
Like the first email was on that 22nd, and he calls you up and says, oh, yeah, I ran into John Costello, and this is what he said. I mean, like, he didn't even know there was an incident at the EDA.
That's correct.
I would find
That's
that
correct.
odd.
And then Jim Eastham,
is he doing better?
He's not, and
I love him.
I do too.
I love Denise.
He got news that it's just not good. He came into the office and he said he doesn't come to our board meetings because he's not well. But he came in before that and said, I just want to know what's happening. And I said, well, after the board meeting, I'll let you know. I didn't want to tell him and then have another board member say, why are you telling Jim?
Right.
So after the meeting, he said, well, you don't know what's going on, be careful. And yeah, Ron had talked to me about.
And Ron missed the meeting.
Ron. That's not the first meeting Ron misses.
But he missed the meeting that you were going to go over what happened. So I imagine maybe, did he get this from other board members? Was he filled in on what happened at the...
Did he ever call you or anything and say, hey, what did you discuss
verify
at the
what
board
happened?
meeting?
Did he? So he did not come to my board meeting that day, but he did show up to Rotary. And when I got to Rotary, him and Greg were talking. So I'm imagining Greg told him. I don't know what they said.
Okay.
But I'm imagining Greg probably told him.
And did you let these guys know the details of everything that happened, the pictures and all that stuff?
Okay.
Yep. But you did not tell him about the files?
No. We were still hoping Ron would, I just knew he would be my link, but he hasn't pulled through. But then he did go to Florida on business, and I think he's coming back next week from Florida.
So he's not back right now?
So he says.
I haven't seen him around. Usually he pops up, him and his wife.
Yeah, he had to come in and fill out his financial disclosure form that he forgot to fill out right before he was leaving for Florida. And he said he'd be back on the 24th. Which coincidentally I think is our next board meeting.
Do you have his phone number?
I do. Oh, our meeting's the 23rd. 5 different contacts. Okay, it's 540-247-2863. Do you need his email?
Sure.
It's beachboy905@gmail.com.
Beachboy.
905@gmail.com.
I'm so
I know, I hate giving out that
boy,
email.
that just tickled me.
Because you know Ron.
Beachboy905@gmail.com.
Yes.
Okay. Can you think of anything?
Oh, I knew you were going to do that because when he gave me that email address, that's what I did. And I know you're trying to be professional. I'm really sorry.
That's okay.
You know, if anything came out of this today, it's I gave you a good laugh with Ron's email address.
I do know that for the first couple weeks after that, you know, it was happening, you know, this Thursday, another Thursday, we were working on the surveillance aspects of it. I think, you know, once I found out about the missing files and folders and stuff, is that they got what they want and I don't expect them back. So I believe that everybody needs to be interviewed, and that includes your office, other office personnel.
Sure.
It also includes people off the board. So in the coming weeks, we're going to do that.
Absolutely.
I know that you have hired a private detective, and let me be clear on something else. You know, once I heard about the private detective, I was like, okay, in some way did you feel that we couldn't do our job, or, you know, not do our job effective, or because in that group is someone from town council?
Yes.
I've been in a fight with that same person publicly. I don't care about the town council. They don't prevent us from doing what we are doing.
And Detective Waller and King were very clear about that. When we discussed it at our board meeting, one of the main reasons my board decided to do that was because we had stuff happening here and at my house. You guys aren't, you know, in the county, and we also felt, and I was very open about this, that it did put you guys in a tough position, that if this came out that it was a town council member behind this, that it puts you in a tough spot.
And
with what
once, if anything ever got directed towards a town council member or any employee of the town, everything that we have would have to be transferred to BCI, Virginia State Police. Has to.
That way you're not in the mix.
No questions on that if it goes in that direction.
Okay.
And I have no problem doing that, and it would be handing over every single thing that we have.
And I was very clear with the private investigator that if you find anything, because I know you guys don't have time to focus on one case, and if he's out there and can get stuff that he can bring to you guys, and I was very clear with him, you need to touch base with Detective Waller. He's handling this. When you get something, he needs to have it.
Has he found anything? Does he have anything that interesting that we can look in a direction?
He hasn't sent me anything. He has sent me he was trying to make the connection of what would there be any conflicts with the people that I'm thinking in my mind it could be. So he was pulling like their property records, what did they own, so he has that stuff that he's done, and I can email that to you. He did pull some stuff on Bevan, and I so wish I would have had this a few months ago, because she called me incompetent, which is one word that burned me up. When she said that we paid more than the assessed value for a piece of property, and that made me incompetent. If I would have had this information on her a few months ago, I could have went to the council meeting and said, Bevan, I feel like we're a lot alike, because January you closed on a house that was assessed for $100,000 and you paid $129,900.
Wait, do you
If
mean
I
she's
would've
moving out of
had
the
that-
basement of her mother's
of her
house?
mother's house. Yeah, she's moving to Hagerstown with her soon-to-be. And they purchased a home in Hagerstown, and it was assessed for $100,300, and she paid $129,900. And if I had had that information, I would have went to that council meeting and said, "We are so much alike. We're
Did
both
Did she
incompetent."
actually get a job?
No.
Oh, teaching violin.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm being a little, but that's what just kind of, real life decisions are being made for, with millions of dollars and, the whole town and its employees and the whole town of Front Royal and someone with no life experience.
So she has not liked me since. Remember when all that stuff was going on with cameras, and she said
That was the fight with me.
And she said it was not the town's responsibility to protect its citizens.
Yes.
I went to a town council meeting and she was questioning me about IT Federal, and I said I find it ironic that it's not town council's responsibility to protect its citizens from crime, but it's now your responsibility to protect it from tax investment, job creation. Find that a little ironic. And after that, she had it in for me.
Became the target.
Yeah. And I don't care. I would still say that to this day because I found that to be ridiculous.
Yeah, the whole camera issue just blew up, and that then I was given notice that I was to give her a list of all areas where we had covert cameras set up. It's part of the investigation. That is not information that you will be receiving.
Yeah.
I about died.
She asked for us to provide her with all of the discussions in our closed meetings that had taken place over the past 3 years. So I responded back with, "We do not keep notes from our closed session because they're closed session. I would like to see yours for the past 3 years."
Right. Did you say that second part?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Each thing she would ask me for, I would come back and say, "Okay, well, I want to FOIA the town.
Yes.
I want your closed session minutes. And I know you don't keep them because I'm in your closed sessions." It was like when they asked for the workforce housing stuff. I sent an email and said the EDA is making an official FOIA request for all documents related to what the town has spent on this project. Well, they wrote back and said, "Well, we haven't spent anything on this project. We don't have any role in this project." Oh, okay, well then your issue is?
Wow.
I mean, I kind of understand why some don't like me, but you get to a point where you're like, I am just trying to do my job.
Right.
This is what you guys have asked me to do for years.
And I know things just pop in my head, but with the group that you mentioned, and you only mentioned 4 out of that group, but there's got to be more than 4 that are disgruntled. Who
I
else?
have more.
Right.
Shay Parker, Tom Conkey.
Because I don't necessarily know the relationships between those people, but it'd be interesting to look at that. And yeah, I would like to get that list.
Yeah. Jim Eastham can tell you, and I'm sure he will when you guys call him, when he was healthy, he would be driving down Water Street and there would be Shay, Mike, Bevan, Tom Conkey sitting in Shay's office.
That little...
Yeah. And he said when he would walk in, they would all be like, okay. I don't know, and that's just my gut. I would never go public and say that these are the people, but it's...
Right, but that's what this is for. We wouldn't go public with that either.
Right.
Oh my God, no, this is,
I just would not want to get back to them
Right.
that I'm saying, oh, they're doing it, because I
Do
don't
you have that
know.
list, though, of the people that would be very upset?
Mike Graham, Stan Brooks, Shay Parker, Tom Conkey, Roger Bianchini, Norma Jean Shaw, Bevan, Burdick.
Yeah, I don't believe Burdick.
Yeah.
Well,
Where does
originally
Donnie
when we spoke.
Poe fit into this?
I don't know. I've never even... thought
Is
about
he
that.
angry or upset, or does he associate with these people?
No, him and I have a pretty good relationship.
Okay, so you wouldn't suspect him at all as being pissed off about something.
No, he never even crossed my mind until you just said his name.
Okay.
I mean, we did have the Afton Inn deal with him, but that fell through because he wanted the town to finance the whole project. But he wasn't angry with me about that. I haven't had any issues with him. Now I'm gonna put him on a radar.
I'm just trying to, because this is the original report that I took from you. The names that you gave me: Graham, Stan Brooks, Parker, Tom Conkey, Bianchini, Shaw, Bevan, and Burdick. Those were the people.
Yep. Okay. Well, Burdick because of his past.
Correct. Yeah, because that was personal.
Yeah.
Your residence.
Yeah. Right.
Stuff that was going on in the winter.
And he was posting all kinds of things online about me personally, and
right.
I never even talked to the guy.
Does Larry Andrews have surveillance equipment at his church up there?
Well, he no longer owns it. I don't know who
Oh,
has
he
that
doesn't?
now. No.
No,
If you remember when they had that big,
The
that guy, the
standoff?
standoff on
Yeah.
Father's Day, where I was locked in a house with 2 kids and a dog and a guy all day long. They didn't have cameras at that point, but I thought maybe after that they would get cameras, but I don't know if they ever did or not, because he sold that and then, you know, he's not well.
I know. He's home now.
Yeah.
Finally.
I'll ask I always see the preacher when I'm walking my dog to go get the mail. I'll ask him when I see him if they have anything up there. I imagine they do by now. And I did get stuff around my house. I got the little, and Omni's gonna come put in a better system for me because I just got I wanted something fast.
Right.
So I went and got the little cheap stuff just to put up. I have a 5-foot fence, so I wanted to be able to put cameras on the other side of my fence, so when I got home I could pull up on my phone what was on the other side of my fence.
Right.
And they're dying already, but you know, I'm gonna go to Lowe's and keep replacing those until Omni
Guess
gets
that's when
better.
you have to live like that.
It does, and when this was happening with Burdick back in December, my stepson had just been in a really bad car accident, could not walk. He had broken his whole right side. For 2 months, I sat up every night, not sleeping, sitting beside his bed, trying to figure out if they get in my house, how am I going to get this kid in his wheelchair and out? I mean, I had to rearrange everything, thinking I could get him in the 1 bedroom and then just get him out. That's how I lived my life for 2 months when all of this was going on. And every time Bevan would make a comment, I just wanted to be arrested. I'll leave it at that, because I felt like you have no idea what you're doing.
I understand.
At home. I mean, I don't know, it was just one thing after another. And then when all the IT stuff fell off, it was like they had to find something else. And it was workforce housing. What in the world?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did you see the article that came out with a comment, John Costello?
Letter to the editor.
Yes.
Letter to the editor.
And where he got his numbers, I have no idea.
That's what.
Yeah. You know, going through that, I think a lot of that is public knowledge, you know, from what he was saying. Not necessarily the amount of money it would take to clear the land. Is that something that is accurate, or would he have got that from the stolen files?
So his numbers are not accurate at all.
Okay.
His land clearing number is close to being accurate. The other numbers, what he isn't including in that, and this will be interesting if this comes out in one of his articles, we were receiving, if we were going to keep the project as an EDA project, we were receiving $300,000 from DHCD for the workforce housing. We were going through the FLA bank in Atlanta, which was giving us a 2% interest rate and up to a $500,000 grant for this project. If that comes out, then I know they're the ones with my file, because I had not even looked.
Why would they let that out? Because that seems pretty positive to me.
Right.
So why would they?
So his numbers are close to being accurate, just without saying the 2% and the $500,000
grant.
Yes. And that was with, if we were gonna do the project.
So how would he know, the number to clear the land?
That was in the press packet.
Okay, so that was public knowledge.
That was public knowledge, because we had already made the 10% deposit for the contingency on that, so it had to be public once we paid it.
So, I mean, reading that, it just seemed that a lot of that was public knowledge and that wasn't anything.
The other numbers, we've never released how much it would cost to construct the facility. Those numbers have never been released, only the site, because that's the only thing we've had to put a deposit on.
And were those numbers accurate?
Yeah.
Shot in the dark type of?
Yeah.
Okay.
He exaggerated those numbers a little bit. The rent that we were going to be, he said
$1,450.
Yeah, that's
$1,450 a month for a
that's-
900 square foot property or apartment.
So they're 1,100 square feet,
Right.
and they were going to be $950 a month. We were going to be able to do that because of the grant we were receiving, the interest rate we were receiving. So his numbers were off.
But if you go through and read more stuff and something pops up that should only be in those stolen folders, that would be interesting information to get.
And I will let you know, I don't always read those comments because it makes my skin crawl sometimes.
Sure. Yeah, I understand.
You should never Google your name.
So if, like, you're reading those, and the things I can tell you in those files that people on the street would not know, if with this academy stuff, in that agreement, it did have Kurt's name, but if people are out there talking, what it would not have is his wife's name. No one knows his wife's name.
No, I could not tell you what his wife's name is.
So-
I couldn't even tell you that he was married.
Right.
So his name was in the agreement,
Mm-hmm.
so that was public record.
No, that's not public record. That's in the confidential agreement between the EDA and Kurt of he's making this investment for the academy. And he did not want his name public because he didn't want every person coming to him and saying,
Can I have money for this? Can I have
Right.
money for that?
so we agreed to that at the beginning. You put the money with our auditors. When we need it, we'll pull it from them. We will not release your name. We
And that's what
agreed to
Norma
that.
Jean is really digging on.
Mm-hmm. And we're allowed to do that. I mean, if somebody wants to give us $8 million
I wouldn't say no.
to build something for this community, I mean,
No, they want to keep it.
Yeah.
They want to keep their identity
right,
unknown, then that's
right.
to
So-
get it done. Absolutely, that's a contingent. That's,
Right.
The money's contingent upon that. Yeah, absolutely.
So if Norma Jean was to write me back and say, well, what about Katrina Tran? Then we would know she has my file because no one knows his wife is on that document.
Well, Norma Jean's going to be interviewed as well.
Yes.
Good.
I mean,
I was going to ask you if you're going to go talk to her.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's
In the works.
it's time. I mean, every single person, and maybe at the end of this, we won't find out who entered your building. I don't know, but every person that we feel that has any kind of grudge
Mhm.
or something to do with this, they have to be interviewed.
And
Has to.
when you are interviewing her, ask her about the pictures. Because when the pictures with the knife in the forehead pictures, she came into my office to interview me about, I don't know, it was about our financial stuff, our loans and stuff. And I had all the information for her. And I had copies of those pictures face down, paper clipped from my board meeting where I had shown those pictures. When she was interviewing me for this other stuff, she said something about, are those the pictures from your office? And I said, no. And so I just went on talking about other stuff. I don't know if she really knew if they were pictures or whatever, but
How would she have found that out?
I don't know if she was just trying to get me to flip something over that was covered up, but just mention that to her because I'm curious as to what she thought those pictures
When
were.
When was that meeting? Yeah.
Holy crap, I have like 50 texts.
Yeah, it's a little after 2. It's the 2:20. So I know you had a 2 o'clock. I apologize.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
You get me in here, I talk all day.
No, that's okay.
She
Good
just
stuff.
emailed me back.
Norma Jean did?
Yeah. I'll forward this to you. At frontroyalva.
Yes. L. Waller, frontroyalva.com.
I'll have to go back and look at when she came in my office. I'll
Yeah,
email
we want to
to
add
you.
that to our timeline. How soon did she find out that something went on?
Yeah. I'm just curious as to what she tells you.
When I went to follow up with her,
Or maybe don't bring it up. See if she
no,
brings
when I
it
went
up.
to
don't
follow
know.
up with her, come to think about it, you know,
With the Matthew Burdick
yes.
sighting that she didn't
Yeah.
know about.
Oh yeah, and that was okay. So all of this started happening, and she had seen you guys at my office one day when you were out there coming to get something, and it was right after that she saw Burdick, and she sent me a text message.
That was something she said, and the stuff that's going on at the EDA, and she covered it up. She covered her tracks up.
Like, I feel like if we don't say anything, she's gonna end up telling on herself.
Right.
I almost feel like if you don't question her, she's gonna tell you. I don't know. She said, this was on Thursday, June 8th.
Oh, so just like last Thursday.
So I met her on June 5th. Monday, June 5th.
Or the 5th.
And she said, I think Burdick is back in town. Someone who looked like him with longer hair followed me on foot, then walked out to his vehicle parked near ours. He stopped behind our car to make eye contact before slowly walking away. Creepy. Tell your investigator. VA tag VTR 9394 tan 4-door Ford Explorer XLT. And I just wrote back, I will pass the information
Because I'll
along.
tell you, we have it locked down, like, we have it password protected, our reports that we do,
Mm-hmm.
so that only admin can have access to, like, only I do. So if he were to do a supplement on it, he has to get on my account
Mm-hmm.
to do it. So no regular officer can read this report. Nobody from town council or anything like that. Nobody has access to these reports.
Right.
The evidence clerk was trying to do evidence, I guess what you spent it for the lab or whatever. And it's like, listen, I'm coming up with this. I said, because I locked it down.
Right.
It acts like there's no case.
Right. You can't find a record.
Yeah.
Well, and she told me the day we met, she was asking about something else, and I said, well, how would you know that? And she said, you told me. I said, no, I didn't tell you. She said, yeah, you just told me. And it was like, well, then I start second guessing myself, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I just told her.
I think it's called gaslighting.
Well,
You're being gaslighted.
She covered herself with me because when I went there, it kind of, you know, what she said, you know, with all the stuff in the paper and with this guy,
Mm-hmm.
when she said that about the EDA,
Mhm.
because I stopped and I wanted her to tell me,
Right.
but she covered herself pretty good because she, you know, told me about the things that, you know, that and the things that were going on with that in the past, with him in the past. So.
Yeah, she brought up to me, I don't know, apparently my husband confronted Roger at the Melting Pot about the article that said I was incompetent. That was the tagline. We've known Roger for 20 plus years.
He's a good
I don't
church
think Roger, and I think I told you this, I don't think Roger has any ill will towards me, that he would do anything physically
Right.
that would harm me.
I don't think Roger would
I don't
physically
think
try
he
to
would
harm
either.
anybody.
Right.
I don't either.
I don't think he's behind that. Norma Jean, I don't trust.
I don't think
Roger.
that Bevan would either. Just her personality. I I don't think she would either.
Someone who's
I
doing this
think
is smarter
she's a
than.
pawn, like someone who's
Yes.
just moving her pieces. So I don't think she would do that either.
And I think I had mentioned to you guys, I thought she was the puppet
Mouthpiece.
for the.
She is a puppet figure. Like yeah.
But Norma Jean, that day we were interviewing and she said, well, you told me, and I kept thinking, did I? No, I didn't tell her. And then when she sent that and said, let your investigator know, I guess I didn't pay. At first I was like, my investigator. I thought she was talking about my private investigator, and I was like, how'd she?
You didn't have one then, did you?
No. No, did I?
On the
June,
5th, I would have thought.
June. That was June. Yeah, yes,
Yeah,
I
it
did.
was the 7th.
Yes, June 8th is when she sent that thing about Burdick.
Oh,
But June 5th is when you were interviewing it, and
Yep.
she mentioned about those pictures.
Yeah. And she didn't say anything about what they were. I think she was just trying to figure out what it was. You know, like something confidential that I wasn't.
You need to start meeting her outside of your
She
office.
said tell your investigator on June the 8th.
June 8th at 2:10. She said, tell your investigator, VA tag. And she said, funny thing is, I saw him and realized immediately, and so did my coworker. He was wearing a Southwestern style vest and someone was in passenger side of truck waiting. I told her quietly, I think that's, and she agreed before I finished my sentence.
But it wasn't. He showed you the picture
Right.
and all that. Which
I
it
didn't
does
see the
have,
picture, but
it does have a resemblance to him, scraggly hair,
I
but
still have it. I don't know if I still have it or not. I don't think I do right now.
and then she said she reported it to Gordon Foster, and he said we should all go talk to the magistrate.
blown it up to something that it's
Yeah.
not. But
No.
yeah, Gordon shared it with us.
He shared it with us. I pulled up the picture of the owner of the vehicle.
Right.
I personally know him.
Mm-hmm.
She described him to a T.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Showed her the picture. This who you saw. Yeah. It's not Matthew Burdick.
It was just kind of odd that all of a sudden now Burdick's back in the.
There is
There is. I think there's a resemblance in the face. His hair, of course, isn't. But that could have been an older picture that I saw.
Right.
Who knows? And he's kind of a recluse and just batshit crazy.
Maybe I should meet with Norma Jean and just.
I would like to interview her. Like, I want to know what she knows and what she's willing to share.
And in Virginia, just to let you know, if you record your conversation and you know you're recording it and someone else doesn't, it's legal.
Yes.
As long as one person knows.
But you can't stick it out on Missy's desk and walk
listen
away.
to two people talking.
Right.
You just have to be part of the
If
conversation.
you're part of the conversation, you can record.
Well, she was recording that interview that day. I mean, that was about our financial stuff, so
Right.
she would have that recording. But then she started talking about Sammy and Roger's incident.
And Sammy's your husband?
I'm trying Sammy North.
I've never met your husband.
You probably know him if you saw him. I don't know. I'm trying to remember how she brought that up and what she said. I don't know. She made me mad at that point when she was accusing him of being.
So what does your husband think about all this?
Well, I mean, he's upset about the things that are happening, and
Does he have any theories?
no, he's so. I would tell you an embarrassing story about the day that this was happening of the text he sent me about his personal digestive system, teaching how important that was to him at the time.
Oh dear.
Um,
And I know the sheriff's office was doing surveillance and stuff. Does McKeithron or any of the sheriff's office know anything that happened?
yes. I know Danny does. And they put my house on, they kept my house on property watch. I'm at home a lot by myself at nights, and after this, I don't know, I'm just on edge, and I've never been like this before in my life. I don't know, I hate going home and...
I'm sorry you're going through that. That
being
sucks.
there by
It is.
myself.
You're being victimized. Absolutely. But you do need to trust it, and you're not going crazy with anything further that goes on, and you do need to trust that.
Yeah.
If someone's
Yeah, I
telling you don't walk in your house, then just don't, and that's what law enforcement is for. And they can go in there and do a security sweep to make sure that nobody's in there. That's what our job is.
I just feel ridiculous being like, oh,
But don't,
I house.
But don't, I mean, I tell people that all the time, you know, when they have the bank bag and they're going from their business to their car or walking to, just have a cop just in the parking lot, whatever,
Yeah.
you know, something. You have to trust that because your life is not worth feeling stupid or silly.
Yeah.
We get paid to do that.
Yes, we do.
We get paid to do that. You know, especially when someone's, you know.
You know, if someone is following you and you're making the turns they are, you need a call right there, go straight to the police department or sheriff's office. I mean, you just do. And you've had a lot of stuff happen to you. You need to trust that.
You've been targeted. Obviously, you've been targeted. And, you know.
So if you interview Norma Jean and she says, let's just say she knows about the pictures, if she brings it up,
So we're gonna ask her what she knows, like what her thoughts are, and then we're gonna.
But if she says, "Oh well, Jennifer told me," could you ever bring us in together to be interviewed together so that I could
refute what she said?
I would say probably not. That's not in your best interest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just on who you are and what you do and all that.
We could confront her with what you've told us.
Okay.
And we don't try to do that either, but
I'm just thinking about her in my office that day and saying, "Well, you told me." All right, I understand. I would.
But right now, I mean, with you telling us that you absolutely didn't tell her, we would find that fishy and we'd dig a little bit further.
I find her emails yesterday.
The last one really pissed me off. Where are you saying this? I said, I'm not saying anything on record, you know, and
That's what
there's
I wrote
nothing
back.
that you need to know, you know, whatever. I was like, I rattled off something this morning. I was like,
So she sent you another one, right?
Yeah, I just sent it to you.
my indignation would come out.
Trust me, it's hard for me to.
I know.
Actually, I haven't gotten to that one yet, maybe because we're here. But.
Let's see here. This one says, so I wrote back to her and I said, I am not stating anything on the record because this is a confidential deal and there's nothing to state on the record. If at any time you're willing to share where you received that information, I'd be curious to know. And she wrote back and said, reporters do not share their sources, nor their research. It is my job to inform the public. My source is confidential. Now, she doesn't understand my confidential. And I do not doubt the veracity of the information. A confidential deal on a property that will be used to train public servants with fees paid for with taxpayer money from multiple jurisdictions is certainly in the public's interest to know, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, reporters don't share their sources nor their research.
But if she's suspect in a criminal investigation, she might want to rethink that.
Well, she doesn't know that yet. We haven't confronted her with that yet.
Yeah, maybe don't tell her what I told you, because now I'm curious as to what she's gonna end up burying herself. She's not smart enough to keep.
But it's the people that really think that they are smart enough.
Yes. I wish we could get something. I wish so bad somebody would try to. I've been keeping my fingers crossed. Even somebody coming in the parking lot or anything just to get a vehicle or something.
They're not going to be done though. I think right now they have exactly what they want. They're not going to be back.
Yeah. Oh, what I was going to tell you about the files, if we see anything else online, like if you would be reading comments, his wife's name would be one thing that no one would know about.
What is her name again?
Katrina Tran.
Spelled with a K?
K, yeah. His home address is on that document, not his business address. So that would be something else that...
So
what's his business
address?
The business address is
McLean's.
McLean, and his home address is Tyson's Corner.
So they wouldn't know that either.
correct.
But could they dig up information on him personally by, you know how you have all those databases and stuff online?
I'm sure you could, but something else that's in that document that has him worried as well as us is his bank information. Because we had to do the transfer between the auditors and his.
Like, are you talking about account numbers?
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh.
So if they were to say something like,
have you disclosed to him that the file's missing?
yes, I had to tell him that, and he is livid. He's a little short Vietnamese guy, and
I wouldn't have wanted to do that.
That was the worst phone call I have made in a long time.
So I mean, he should alert his bank if any kind of FOIA requests or court orders that he be notified right away.
He said he was going to do that.
Shouldn't be court orders. I mean, only law enforcement can really do the court orders.
Yeah.
And attorneys, I wouldn't. Regular Blow Joe couldn't do that.
And no one knows that our auditors are the ones holding the money.
No one knows that.
No one knows that. So if that was to get out, then we know who has that. That's in that file as well.
What about the other files? Not necessarily.
Right.
Like the workforce. Like
So
what information?
This is all info on the criminal justice
the academy, yeah. As far as the workforce housing, if we would see things related to the Campbell's personal information, because that was never made
I know
public.
Lenny and Jeanette.
As you know, they're my aunt and uncle.
Yeah, well, that's all over the place, but no, I've always liked
their personal information is in that file, and the specifics on the financials, the pro formas, were in that file. That's really all that was in there, so not much that I would say would be like groundbreaking we would know. But in the IT federal file, there is information in that file on their financials that has never been released to the public.
the personal financials.
Yes, both. So we have their business and their personal.
He is hot.
Oh, he is, and he's threatening to pull everything if his name gets in the paper, or his financials get in the paper. Or at least
That pissed me off too.
Or at least that's what I'm assuming, because I couldn't understand what he was saying when he was yelling.
Yeah, but that brings up something. Was there any other files in there besides those three? Those three are just pertinent right now because those are.
All the other files are still there.
And is there anything? I don't want to say important. I know it's all important.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything else that you would be like, I wonder why they didn't take this file?
Yes.
Because that's.
There's another project we're working on that I had up front that's through the state partnership. And I wondered why they wouldn't take that one as well, because it has the company name.
And it was up front,
Mm-hmm.
and they had to, okay.
They bypassed that to get to the others.
Yep. And that one, that would be like, any reporter would want to know that information to be able to report that we're working with that company. So they bypassed, although the folder has it under a project name, so they would have had to go through it to see what it was.
So they didn't recognize the project name.
Right, because the state gives them code names, so I just had it labeled as the state name. But if they had gotten in that file,
But they didn't know what they were looking at.
right,
If they would have known what they were looking at, they would have grabbed that as well.
right,
It would be 4 files missing instead of
right.
3.
And the other ones were clearly labeled Criminal Justice Academy. That was a green folder because all of my stuff with that is green. IT Federal was in a yellow folder, and Workforce Housing is in a purple folder.
And you do not suspect anybody in your office going in there and putting it in their bag and walking out.
Mm-mm. I just can't see either.
Do you have meetings on Wednesday night, right? Ever?
No.
Like any kind of EDA, anything on a Wednesday night?
Mm-mm. No, that Wednesday night I had an Area 1 Rotary meeting at the Holiday Inn. But that's once every other month, and sometimes it's at the Holiday Inn, and typically it's on a Tuesday.
Oh, and
It
that
just happened that week it was a Wednesday.
So
Only EDA meetings are the 4th Friday of the month at 8 a.m.
It probably would have behooved them to just use your copier and just copy things and then keep the folders there.
Oh, if they would have copied it, then I would have known exactly what time they were there because our copier keeps
track of that.
Keeps
Did you
track
ever
of that.
check that?
Yes, we did.
And there wasn't anything.
Yeah, we went back to
Back
see if
just-
anything had been scanned, copied, but I think the last thing was at like 4:38 p.m. that day.
So they took the files and.
Yeah, they took the actual folder and.
How thick were the files?
The IT federal one was probably like that.
Okay, so they're not big.
No, Criminal Justice County is probably like that too because they only had certain documents in there that were not for the public files.
And you don't get into those every day or
No.
anything like that? No.
I mean, in fact, I hadn't been in that workforce housing file because that was the agreement we did back in 2014.
Okay.
And
So it's not something you normally.
No, and the IT federal one, we had not been in that file since last March or April when we submitted the thing to the town for the road. Yeah, I mean, those are files those are the ones where we have the confidential documents that we don't need to access every day.
Okay.
Yeah, and we had moved them from the public files.
I'm going to ask you a question that you're going to think is very odd, but I want to make sure. I mean, you don't seem to be uncomfortable with me being in here.
No.
Is, through this investigation, and stuff, is my husband's name got brought up as having some kind of issue with EDA or could possibly be involved. And so I was talked to with George Klein, and I was like, George, I've never even heard him, talk about the EDA,
Mm-hmm.
but I know that John works for George, Gail's husband,
Yes.
John. But is there
I've
any
never said
reason that George's name would pop up in your mind as to this? Because we would have to recuse ourselves, and I would in a heartbeat.
I've never mentioned his name at all. That's not even somebody that would pop in my mind.
I thought it was odd too. Like I was like, what? What?
That I said George?
No, not that you did. That
I'm
his
like-
name popped up as a possible person that would have some kind of issue with the EDA or something. I was like,
Does
Yes,
he even
nothing-
know who we are? I mean, I've
he doesn't
never
do anything with the EDA. Like
Ever.
I don't, and the only association I could draw from that is because John works for him.
Mhm.
But
No, I've never.
and Johnny did before he went and got the other
Yeah.
job. But yeah, so okay.
That never even crossed my mind.
But if it does, you need to let Waller know or something because then it
Oh yeah, his name never even crossed my mind.
Okay.
I don't
Well,
know.
it would cross my mind.
Well, now
either.
does he not like the EDA?
No, no, and don't think that because I mean he just has nothing.
Yeah.
You know?
I've never had any dealings at the EDA with.
Because he doesn't know what we're working or anything, and I did ask him after all of that, and I heard that. I was like, has John said anything?
Mhm.
And even John hasn't said anything.
He doesn't know.
He's never said anything that has happened. Nothing.
No one in my family knows. I have shown no one in my family those pictures. One, because I don't want my mother to see that and have to live with that image. No one in my family has seen those pictures at all.
John has never said anything. George has no idea what's going on. But I just thought it was odd when I was told that his name came up, and I was like, my George? Like, that just, and so I just wanted to clear that.
Nope.
Because,
I've never said that name. That never even crossed my. I told you who my names are, and
yeah. And it just, he doesn't even associate with any of those people either. Like, it's not, he has his own thing
Right.
going on, and it has nothing to do with what the town is doing,
right,
or the county.
yeah.
He bids
Yeah.
on county projects and never gets them.
Well, he's never bid on a project that we've had, I've never had any.
No, it's usually
Work
they're
dealings.
smaller
Yeah.
projects, and he's never bid on a town project either.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
I just thought that was crazy. Like he has no association whatsoever.
Right.
So,
No, that has
good,
never.
good. You cleared my.
No. but now I'm gonna go talk to everybody and see why he has a problem with the EDA.
Yeah,
So,
go for it, and let me know.
Have you heard why George Klein does that?
it's been known.
Yeah. But if you have anything, just keep in contact. To me, the more communication, the better, because it might be something that you just don't even think is anything, and we'll say, oh, well, that is interesting.
Okay.
Or vice versa, if we have a question about something, we just want to feel free to contact you
Sure,
on anything and everything.
And with the Norma Jean emails, I am not actually copying you so she can see I'm copying you. You're always the blind copy.
Right.
But anything she sends to me, I will forward to you.
Please do. This helps us when we go to speak with her.
Yeah.
And what's good about having two people on it is that we do bounce things off. He can have a theory about it, I'll have a theory about it, and we'll try to, dig on it. So now if the three of us can just put our heads together and try to come up with something.
I'd love to be able just to get her to talk. And
I think Ron, he's going to be one of the, as soon as he gets back, he's going to have to come in here. I want him to say that Sean Costello that has told him, and then he's going to be on the next on the list, and that's just it just steamrolls like that. So.
Yes, and he knows that I have told you. I told Ron the day he told me, I'm calling Detective Waller to let him know that Costello said that to you. So he knows why you're calling him.
And then if we can get Missy and Marla, you need to set them up so that they can come down here, whether it be today, tomorrow.
Sure.
But
Missy's on vacation this week.
I would like to get it done by the end of this week.
So, well, she'll come in. She's just she's locally, I mean, she didn't go anywhere for vacation.
Oh, okay.
She's home?
Yeah, so she'll come in and talk to you. And Marla, I mean, she's at the office, so she'll come in anytime.
Okay.
You need her to.
So we'll set those up. It's just important that we do that.
Absolutely. Question anybody. I don't care who you're questioning. Just let me know what I can do. You know, if they say something.
Trust your intuition. That's what I'm asking you to do.
Okay. Well, get ready.
Okay. I'm serious. We're both local. So just,
And I have tried to start coming in a little later in the mornings until the people next door are coming in. So I'm not coming in by myself every morning. And I'm leaving when everybody else is leaving. I'm not staying anymore. Just something to change that.
Yep.
I did have a routine and it was easy to follow it.
Right.
So I am trying to change that just so people are around when I get there and when I'm leaving.
Good news. Do you have anything else?
I don't have anything else. I mean, we've got plenty to follow up with right now.
I think so.
And anything else that, if Norma Jean, of course, you're going to let me know anything else that happens with her. You're just going to blind copy me. Yeah. So I think we're good. I think we're good. I think we got enough to follow up with. I just wish Ron was in town where we could talk with him.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
And did the private investigator get in touch with you?
He gave me a call. I tried to call him back over the weekend.
Okay.
He didn't, obviously he didn't pick up. It was a weekend, I don't know. But he didn't respond back to me.
Okay.
I just left a message that I knew that he was working, that you had informed me that he was working, I have his number.
And I told him I was going to
he left me a voicemail.
But if he finds something, Friday. I mean, seriously, because he can follow people better than we can and keep eyes on all that, and it's something that we can bite on and go in that direction. I mean,
I thought it would be helpful if he's out there mingling with them and can get them to say something.
Sure.
People do talk.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Thought that would help.
Thank you, Jennifer.
All
Appreciate
right.
you coming in and talking to me.
Thank you for all your time.
Yeah. And I'm going to go investigate George now and find out why he doesn't agree.
Where are you parked?
I am on the side here.
You want to?
Yeah, you can go out the back.
Yeah, we'll go out the back. I'm going to take her out.
Sure, good.
Yeah. Good luck with everything.
All right.